If you want a big pop of color in the fall, plant this. Welcome to Cathy's Eclectic Garden. I garden in Zone 6A in Northwest Ohio. Today, we're going to be talking about brown-eyed Susans. I'm Cathy, and this is my garden. Brown-eyed Susan, scientific name Rudbeckia trilobal. The name triloba comes from the dark green, somewhat hairy basil leaves that are divided into 3 oval parts. I was confused by this at first because the upper leaves on this plant are ovate and similar to the black-eyed Susan. Later in this video, I will tell you 3 quick methods I use to identify the 2 plants in my garden. Brown-eyed Susan is also known as the 3-lobed coneflower. They are an excellent choice for an isolated area, a wildflower meadow, or micro prairie garden. Good companion plants for brown-eyed Susan are tall coreopsis, big blue stem, purple coneflower, bee balm, switchgrass, New England aster, goldenrod, sneezeweed, and butterfly milkweed, just to name a few. In my garden, brown-eyed Susan shares space with purple coneflower, wild senna, bee balm, culver's root, and prairie coneflower. It attracts a lot of pollinators such as bees, butterflies, and moths, and if you let them go to seed, they can feed the songbirds. Brown-eyed Susan are fast-growing, drought-tolerant, deer-resistant, and bloom from mid to late summer and into early fall. The roots are shallow and fibrous. The plant grows best in full sun or partial sun and seldom flops or splits, even in high winds or rain. They aren't too picky about the type of soil they will tolerate. Mine are doing great in clay soil. They will grow in average, rich, poor, medium to wet, well-drained soil, and medium to dry soil. In other words, you should have a good chance of success growing brown-eyed Susan anywhere in your garden or yard. According to most sources, brown-eyed Susan are hardy from zones 4 to 8, but I've seen one source that says zones 3 to 9. Typically, brown-eyed Susan will get 3 to 5 feet tall. As an average in my garden, they seem to stay around 4 feet. But give them plenty of space as they will be somewhat bushy. They are very showy once they are in full bloom, and due to the volume of new blooms, they also make a great cut flower. Towards the end of the season, brown-eyed Susan will begin to look a bit wild as they dry up and develop seed heads. Brown-eyed Susan plants are short-lived, typically 2 to 3 years. If you want the plant to return each season, they easily establish themselves if they're allowed to drop seed after flowering. But beware, they may pop up in places you don't expect. I moved 3 plants to a new area because they were coming up in an area where there wasn't room for them to do their thing, so I moved them someplace else. I started my brown-eyed Susan by purchasing plants and putting them in the ground, but I also started some from seed. Speaking of seeds, here's a photo of a package of seeds that was given to me by a friend. Notice the arrowhead shape of the seeds, and these are the ones that I mentioned previously that I started from seed. If you're starting brown-eyed Susan from seed, it should be easy to grow and can be surface sown. After spreading the seeds on the soil, be sure to gently rake them into the soil. Late fall or early winter is a good time to sow the seeds since they do need a 30-day cold stratification period. If you plant them in the spring or summer, you can place the seeds in your refrigerator for 30 days prior to planting to achieve the same cold stratification results. Because it's a native plant, brown-eyed Susan is low maintenance. Just make sure to have it somewhere where it has some space to spread out away from other plants, especially in a manicured flower bed. If planted in a mulched flower bed, you'll see a plethora of volunteer seedlings each year. There's no need to fertilize brown-eyed Susan. I've never fed mine since I've been growing them. The plant can be fertilized, or you can add generous amounts of compost. However, be ready for huge plants if you fertilize them. Personally, I seldom fertilize any of my native plants, and I have some pretty large native plants in my garden. As promised, I told you I use 3 ways to distinguish my brown-eyed Susan from the black-eyed Susan in my garden. The first marker is the brown-eyed Susan flowers are smaller than the black-eyed Susan flowers. Second, the flower stalks of the brown-eyed Susan are purplish to green or purple, whereas the black-eyed Susan flower stalks are green. And third, brown-eyed Susan are noticeably taller, 3 to 5 feet versus 2 to 3 feet for the black-eyed Susan. As a bonus 4th hint, my black-eyed Susan tend to be in full bloom a week or 2 before the brown-eyed Susan bloom. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment. See you in the next one. Bye.